Don't shut up. Yeah, hello everyone. Yoku. And then Pais, and they don't believe Pi that they're all from Iwas. Yeah, God, Iwas is 7 million years old. That's true. Yep, that white monster is your great grandpa. That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's 100% true. That is one of the Persian fathers, and then 8 sided star and 5 sided star. That's true. Yeah, that's true. You are liars, yeah, people in the Middle East. Yoku. What is Israel is I was 7 million years old coming back down, and he theft 30 to 36 people, yeah, from the Middle East, and those were the great real Israelis. Astro, yeah, those were the great grandpa's people, and then they created from those genome structures, they created modern day Israel human gods, and then right there they created Baal, yeah, and then it came back down and it kept breeding and it made those blue hazel eye types. It went into the heavens, and then it knew those are the Persians, what you call Persian, and then right there, their fourth generation is Islam. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So technically, you're all from evil. That's true. Yeah, that's true. You is not Crescent Moon, who is somewhat innocent, and the other white gods. That's true. That's why they're liars. Yeah, they're liars. They're all from evil. And I was caught stealing about 6 to 19 times in Dragon Sector, but he always left the sector because he knew it. Pi is hygienic, among God, yeah, human God. And then real yellow gods, you know what happened? Pi is from the generation that's also a clone generation from the real ones. Yep, 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 from a different planet. And then woman, Pi's great grandparents survived in Redskins out of the heaven. They came back down and they cloned the metal from the intestine. Yep, all the King Cobras did that. And even I was and had it did that. That's true. Yeah, their white parents did that, and those white gods were Palestinian. Yeah, Palestinian. That's true. They were the real Palestinian war gods and white gods. They came down immediately. They knew it. That Baal's group of yeah, Persia is there, and you won by Australia. 3 hours. He says, Pie's the monster. I was as your grandpa, yeah, not a star who you claim your mom is from. 3 hours later, a star spat and said, "Those clones, holy shit, you won pie, yeah, you won pie." Bay. A star's always been war with Africans. So yeah, that's true. Yeah, the only white god that escaped every single god legally was Palestinian. Yeah, Palestinian. That's true. The great grandpa who created Palestinian. Yep, they escaped, and they what they did was destroyed Crescent Moon. Yeah, green hazel. That's true. And they theft the wealth and technology, and then them escape. That's true. The dumbass didn't believe you, pie. 20 hours later, him knew it. His fucking dad was nothing but evil. That's true. But it is good, yeah. You live with good standards, stuff. Yeah, y'all could. And me to approve, yeah, me to approve. But you do dies in the future. And I do see Pi murdered Baal, Pi murdered I was, and that is the end of your father. And then in ties out of the heaven, 8 sided star physical traits are there. There's a combination of white gods and God is there with 8 sided stars physical traits. Yeah, nose and everything. Yeah, that's true. People are scared of you, freaking Israeli. Yeah, that's true. People know it. And by using when you found the Islam, yeah, they're allowed to stay there too. But yeah, they're enslaved, but with dignity and privileges. That's true. And then you have a few more, yeah, Middle East. Well, a few more demons from Middle East. Probably has Israel and Saudi, about 40 plus total. Yeah, that's true. And then the 7 Persian demons right now that Persia has, all 7 moved to Dragon Side of the Heaven. 2 are murdered by another King Cobra who took they and gave the rights and privileges, and then he not return, yeah, the 5. Eventually Pi steal back the 4. That's true. Yeah. And then Pi invaded those countries, legal civil war, because Pi asked, what'd you do with the demon? Yeah, the demon is innocent. They're not humans. Yeah, that's true. And they're not human gods. 2 hours later, you gain Pi. Yeah, you gain Pi. Eventually, the 4 are enslaved by your 30 Middle Eastern demons. That's true. That's law. That's norms. And then right there, very graphic Pi. They wrote, what the hey, they're only demons. They're only made to protect human gods. And then, yep, that's all the wealth they can muster. That's true. And then when they're wealthy enough, yep, they can begin raising their own, yep, whatever survivor up there, yep, blue hazel eye, Israeli types, yeah, that's all the ways. That's true. That Pi approve as well, yeah, citizens enslaved with dignity and the norms, yeah, that's true. Later on, the status will go to the citizenship, yeah, that's true. And only Moan Dragon sector, that's true. Right there, they're happy. But later on in life, Pi, Saudi, yeah, Saudi probably made it too, but we don't know. Saudi was the biggest monster. But then he realized, if Pi is telling me the truth, Saudi did experiments. Iran and Hebrew are the biggest monster. Australia, those are the biggest monster. When you went in, they never taught human yellow gods anything. Pi kept gutting them and then them figure it out. Pi is the king cobra, the keeper of all the buildings and space stations, and then Pi bought it up from the dragons and repoured several trillion more, and right there, Pi, you created space stations, and then you knew immediately what the hell it was on. It's delusional. Yeah, it's delusional, Pi. Yeah, that's true. 3 hours later, Pi, you survived, Pi. You pointed they to their real grandparents, the Palestinian ones, Pi, and the Israel ones, and then you wrote those are the real Israel before. Yep, I was converted them, and then what you see is modern day Israel today. That's true. 3 hours of that, they hated those clones. Pi. Yeah, that's true. That's normal. Even so, get it out of me, that sinner, Yaku. And not know how human white gods do, yep, and barter and then gain, and not cause such a chaos and a mess, Yoku, and then be deemed pure evil. That's true. But it's good, they had it, Lamarinda, and then Hebrew was gutted, and then I see right there Islam is breeding for the next. Yep, hiring from King Cobra. Yes, we do hire. Yeah, we do hire mercenaries, soldiers, and then we go in and clear up the space station. Yes, we do. It is graphic. When they went to clear up Pi, it was 9 space stations, and then he said, "No, we can't find any more. That is an older speed." He went to Ben, and then he nodded. You nodded. The Knights and you cleared up 20 at 20 Pi. Yeah, that's true. There's only about 700. Yeah, 700, and then right there, Pi, you won, Pi. But it is very graphic. He said, "We have never seen Pi so pissed off afterwards." Pi knew what had it said to you. My mom and dad are nothing but Palestinian. Then that's 100% law. That's true. Yeah, that's true. They cut open the intestine, brain tissue, and spinal cord, 2 spinal cords from 2 types of those white gods, and they dipped it in that substance, that fluid substance, and then right there they cloned the metal, and then the dragons did the same, and then they cloned it from only intestine, and then boom, that's when they created Yellow God Metal, and then yes, your Yellow God Metal only lasts 4 years. Pi, that's true. Had it only last 7 years in Peerless Poison Ray and Virus Ray right there, Pi. You knew it. Him cried the moment he knew it. He said, "Pi, you're a genius." Yeah, you was a genius. Right there, your new stuff lasts pretty much forever, Pi. That's true. Yeah, that's true. What we don't know, Pi, is why they're all thrilled, Pi. And then one of your spirits hinted them. The mess me made in the Middle East because me a vain spirit. Yeah, that's 100% all. That's normal. Yep. Yep, Pi's vain spirit. Yep, they collected human god technology and science and sorcery and devices and UFO, and they collected for price and yeah, that's normal. Yep. And they came back. The white great grandparents, yes, parents, ancestor spirits came back. Pi gained, and then right there, he punched her and he said, "What'd you do with my human son? Did you know me only done that one time, Yoku?" And then you see a chunk of his eyeball in the metal ball. Pi, that's true. That's his third son. And then he left a mess in the Middle East because he's vain God spirit. Yeah, that's 100% all. That's norms. And then later on, Pi collected them. Pi collected the Enoch spirits too, who are Norwegian gods and goddesses of spirit origins. Those become wealthy, Pi. Right there, they and yep, the Middle Eastern Persian demons, Israel and Saudi types became yep. Those 30 lucky ones are normal. And then Paiusa, you run into the 57. Yeah, 57. Those ones are older, older. Yoku. Hey, Paiusa, when you're there, 2 horrifying images of the older god getting cut by the youngster. He said, "No, Dad, we cannot behave that way because this is the amount of wealth and money we have." And then Pi is there. Yeah, that's 100% all those norms. Yes, do. And it was so graphic. And then you went into the other sector. Pi, yeah, 100% as you guys would do. Every time you went in there, yep, the state is cleared. Pi, yeah, that's true. And the kid didn't see Pi bought it up legally. That's true. And Pi, you said 2 hours of people lying to you. I saw 2 million space countries. You're not happy. You kept cutting up Islam. And then you said, "Grandpa, you know what those are? Those are Hebrew." And then you kept flying towards it. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, 100% as we do. By you said you done it, but 12 million years normal. By and then right there, normal refugee. Yep, normal 100% is the Green Lakes New York. It is there that Pi is happy, but right afterwards, a lot of threats from the other King Cobra emperors. They wrote, Pi, you can live that way, but we not live that way. We want justice. And Pi wrote, for what? They're all trying to escape African sun god. Me murdered it already on Earth. That's justice enough. And him nodded. Him nodded. Pi. 3 hours later, he says, how the hell you do it? Pi used ancient Aztec virus ray. That's real. Nusawati mo ika sentence no vita katunia tua katunia chipode. Kotu wando the Hebrew yeah more here, yeah more here, that's true. Pi bred into one of the Hebrew goddesses, that's true. Yeah, here's a mutt. Pop came, one of your sons, yeah, he's there still, but he's not full of it, Pi, that's true. And someday, Pi, when you get there, biggest fight scene, your knight hated you, Pi. He said, Dad, how can you downgraded us all like that? And Pi wrote, they're good, beautiful women. You gonna kill they? Hers a good vagina, duh. Her smells right. I don't know what that crap over there is. It's a darker tan Asian type. I don't believe that's healthy for you or me. And then he nodded. That's true. But yeah, he nodded. He wrote, they probably hate you. Yeah, they probably hate you. They probably hate Pi. Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true. And then 4 hours of him talking, he noticed he right on Pi. That's true. The idiot didn't believe your Pi. 2 hours, the grandpa threw away his stuff and left in normal. Yeah, normal. That's normal. And then the knights went to collect. Yeah, normal. Yes, do. You want to know why knights are super smart, Pi? 20 hours later, I see two of your weird Buddhist immortals are there. Pi, yeah, they're still there. Yeah, they're still there. Pi certified a group of them. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And then right afterwards, about 5,000 of them are to remain yellow, yeah, and speak yellow tongue and languages and norms and hygienic and pure. And then, yeah, common sense and principles. And right there, Pi, you won. Pi, you wrote it out. Those are in the dragon side of the heaven. When they arrive, they have a bot from Pi. Yeah, that's true. When they master their bot technology and demon elixir, they knew it. If their device glow color, don't fight. Yeah, don't fight. Yeah, wait till you heal. It is 5 hours of people waiting, and then they attack gods. Yeah, normal. Right there, Pyro. Because you're only on level 20. Yeah, y'all good. Paisan, did you see what happened? 5 hours of your war hogs, your white hogs, gods protecting you, and then right there, you identify those are Irain. Yeah, those are Irain gods. Right there, he was faster than Pi. He cut through Pi's chest 20 million times. Pi, yeah, Astro. Yeah, those are fast. And Pi's already twice the speed ahead of Astro. That's why Pi wrote. Had it thought he was level 1, he didn't run into those old Irain types. That monster's been exercising, yeah, big Paisan, right there, the Anudikis are lying to you too. Because right there, Pi, you look, those motherfuckers did a ray on Pi's metal, that's true. And then Paisan, after you gain from the white hog Pi, the metal, you're immune to it, but that type of ray defaults, the god's metal, and then, it malfunctions every 9 years, Pi. If you can print metal and re-inject like Pi, duh. And then you're flying at only level 10, yeah, that's true, yeah, that's true. Because I don't know what the hell that type of virus ray is, but it works. Yeah, it's not science fiction. Yeah, it's not science fiction. Them done that to you and your spirit's third son, and then you knew it. Them are Middle Eastern Pi. Yeah, that's true. And it was 4 hours of Pi flying slow. And Pi knew it. Now I have to reprint every 9 years. Yeah, that's true. And Pi, you said after you get from your annuity white hawk, you're immune to the ray, and then the virus not hit you anymore. But then that's when you knew there's such viruses up there in God level. That's true. Yeah, that's true. And electricity format. That's true. The idiot didn't believe you, Pi. His metal was crapped in 9 days by Astro. Yeah, that's true. That's why Pi is scared straight. 2 hours, Pi. I saw the rain kept attacking you. Your male spirits, and knights assaulted it, and then probably murdered one or a few with the peerless now far away, and boom, it flies off. Yeah, it flies off. Pi. Yeah, that's true. Because it knows that's the most poisonous element. And then 3 hours, everybody's out of there. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Pi's out of there too. That's true. You want to know why Chinese called you Pi? You're lucky. Hey, you're lucky. You went into the Thai sectors and you rounded those up. And then you went into one of the sectors and you saw 8-sided stars. You have survivors. And then you knew it. Yeah, those are the moms of Persia. That's true. Yeah. What they call Israel and Islam, them are actually father is actually I was Akbar. That's true. 7 million years old. You murdered him on earth. Payasmidu. And their alien creator is in fact Baal. Yeah, Baal, that's true.
Yep, that's why they hated themselves.
Baal, yeah, I'm watching.
The kid that didn't believe you by him committed suicide when he knew Baal was from Palestinian. And the Palestinians' great-grandfathers who, right there, you notice,
I was. That's true, yeah. 3 hours. Him covered his freaking eyes and he knew it. That is the white war god that created them. Eight-sided star is only their mom, yeah. Their mom's women has eight-sided star, that was their mom, yeah. Their mom's her husband, that's true. And the idiot passed away in the Middle East knowing it. That them are sinners. But yeah, that's true. I'm watching. And you don't believe Pi, you can go as a-sided star when he's on Earth. Yeah, you're good. But the truth is, him never set foot because that poison ray is real. That's true. And it was too poison. It was too graphic to explain. When you looted the planet Earth, Pi, African sun god shows himself, and they're right there, a bunch of Palestinian. Yep. As bad as Hebrew shows themselves. That's true. Yep, that's true. Those are ancient Palestinian. And then those ones, yeah, were the ones that created Israel. That's true. Y'all good. And real Palestinian, yeah, freed himself from African sun god. That's true. And then right there, Pi had it. Oh, me that kind of Palestinian? No, me this one. And then you won Pi. Yeah, that's true.
yep, so Daizu, 2053, they knew it. Islam is nothing but a, how should we put this? They're survivors, but they're not clean.
Yeah, that's true. Y'all good.
But most realistic.
Yeah, pretty all good.